My thumbnail looks peak today, don't it? Look at this. One of my best works. Speaking of peak, you want to draw like peak, right? I got you then. I've been consuming a lot of Gachiakuta before it was an anime, before it even reached chapter 100 in the manga. And I read a couple of one-shots from Keirana. They were very good, by the way. And the influence started showing in my art, in which people could actually tell. Like, I've gotten the comment a couple of times now that my art kind of looks like Gachiakuta, and it's not intentional most of the time. Here's how to draw the art style almost 100% accurate, because you can never go 100%, right? So yeah. Also, disclaimer, I make this video as a means to help you add things from the art style which you like, right? Maybe you like the eyes, maybe you like the way she draws noses. And while copying art is very good for you in learning, attempting to go like one-to-one for everything in the art is not really good for your artistic identity, right? You want to get to a point where when you are making art, your art style is recognizable. But yeah, that's it. Anyways, let's go. So we'll be breaking the art style into 3 different parts. First part, we have body proportions and anatomy. One thing you'll notice about Keirana is how she likes to break anatomy in subtle ways, especially for young characters. Take for instance Ryo, Remlen, or even Rudo. You'll notice most commonly in the knees that they are a bit exaggerated, like a bit too bent. Other than that, you'll notice also that these 3 characters that I mentioned are a bit bony. Take for instance Ryo, Rudo, Amo, and Remlen. When you think about them, or when you see them, you notice that they are all skinny. What's the one thing they all have in common? Right, it's because they are young. Young characters typically in Gachiakuta have bonier features, or they are skinnier than the older characters, right? Now the trend changes as the character ages. For instance, when you look at Zanka is still considered a bit skinny or bony, but he's not as bony as Rudo, for instance, or Ryo, but he is a bit bony compared to older characters like Engine or Grizz. Grizz, when you look at him, I assume he's a bit older than Engine or the same age as Engine. But when you look at him and Engine, you notice that their physiques are a bit thicker. Like, they take up a bit more space, they're a bit less skinnier. Like Engine, for instance, has broader shoulders than most characters. Same with Grizz. Grizz has thicker arms, which could show that he's strong, yes. But it could show again that he's older, which is what I'm theorizing. The bigger characters are usually the older characters. Keirana also applies the same logic that most mangaka do, which is younger characters will typically have bigger heads, right? The younger, the bigger the head. So when you notice Dia, the head is a bit bigger than the rest of the body when compared, right? Which is kind of normal. And the trend is pretty much the same. Remlen has a big head, Rudo's head is slightly less bigger, Ryo's head is slightly less bigger, Zanka's head is a bit more normal sized, and then Engine's head is a normal size. Now moving on to the faces, let's niche it down into proportions a bit more. Keirana has by far the best faces in manga I've seen so far. Why? Because A, from a first glance you know who drew it. B, although it's slightly anatomically incorrect, it's very unique. And C, the expressiveness of the faces is so well done and it's so stylistic, it's simply immaculate. But enough of my glazing. One thing you need to really know about the face is that they follow a common anime trope or manga trope, which is the younger characters have bigger eyes than the older characters. Now, how you use this in your art style, right, is that the youngest characters, their eyes will take up half of their face from the brow region. There is a good example of this, because when you notice the eyes, they take up about half of the face, sometimes more, sometimes less, but roughly half. Now when you notice characters like Ryo and Rudo, you notice that their eyes take up about a third of their face, right? The upper third of their face, again from the brow region. And then for older characters like Grizz, it takes up a quarter. The same rule applies for Engine as well. This rule applies even for Simio. Lastly, you will notice the eyes, the bottom lid especially, is a bit exposed. You will see a bit of the line of the bottom lid. It's a very common thing for pretty much all the characters. Their bottom lids are exposed. Even the things at the end, the little knobby things at the end of the eyes, at the beginning and the end, like at the corners of the eye basically. They're always there in Kei Urana's art style. Now as for toning style, toning is a bit of a difficult issue here because Kei Urana doesn't have a consistent toning style. It is somewhat inconsistent, which makes it a bit more interesting than most toning or shading style in manga. So here I would advise for you to go with something that you are really good at, but a tip that I would just give you, or a secret of mine which I use, is a crosshatch rubber, a crosshatch eraser. Use it to go over the hatching lines after you have drawn them, and it will look so much rougher, almost like how it does in the manga. Now the last area to be covered is the hair and clothes. One of the most recognizable things about Kei Urana's art style is how she draws hair. The hair has this sort of bended paper quality, even at rest, with some edges of it getting a bit more exaggerated. A simple example that I could apply to the art style for the hair is, think of applying a lot of hair gel on your hair and then just ruffling all of the hair, and then last minute making a style like in 10 seconds. That's what it looks like. Not messy, but not uniform either. As for the clothes, you will notice that the characters, majority of them are really skinny, so the clothes naturally look bigger than they would. But because of that, the drapery looks a bit exaggerated, like the folds and everything look a bit exaggerated than they otherwise would, but not too much that it's ridiculous. It's almost just a perfect balance of stylistic decision and realism, or you could say accuracy. One more thing you'll realize about the hair is that the ends are curved. They're not exactly pointy like normal anime hair. That's something to note. For the sake of not just yapping and not practicing what I preach, I will actually apply everything that I taught in this quick little time lapse of my character, and you will judge how accurate it is.
Like Pinocchio, I never lie. I keep a straight face, never photo cry. Ask me for my demise, never go ahead because I'm on the rise. I'm the nigga, but you call me die. Shit on my head, cause I'm the guy. Gotta keep the fam close, don't trust nobody with snakes. I'll never ride, never ride, never ride. Yeah, with sticks, I'll never ride, never ride, never ride, never ride, never ride, never ride, never ride. Yeah, with snakes, I'll never ride, never ride, never ride, never ride, never ride. Give me my small circle intact, no matter the distance, always in contact.
And there you go, Gachiakuta art style. Of course, like I said in the beginning, it won't be one-to-one perfect, but I hope you get the gist of it. Hopefully you'll take away one thing you like about the art style to apply on your own characters. But till then, I'm out.
The flows that I've hiding, man, that you understand. Nigga, I'm built like that, yeah, yeah.